In this video, we will explain exactly how different loan deals take place between football clubs, the reasons for them, and the rules and regulations around them. In simple terms, a loan is the temporary transfer of a player from one club to another. Such deals are so popular, particularly during the winter window, that some clubs have their own loan department to look after loan players and visit them during the season to monitor development. Although they may not be spoken about in as much detail as transfers with large fees being exchanged, they are an integral part of the football transfer market and can involve high-value players. As well as the most basic form of loan being a temporary move to a new club, there are two slightly different variations and extensions which you may have heard spoken about, namely a loan with an option to buy or a loan with obligation to buy. The supposed middle ground between a loan and a permanent deal is the option to buy clause. A club agrees to loan a player for a certain amount of time, with an agreement also being in place for a full transfer, including the transfer fee which will be negotiated in advance. This strategy is increasingly common for clubs as they can test a player out without committing to a permanent deal, and the player can judge if it is the right environment for themselves. Once the loan period has expired, the clubs already have the agreement in place, and if they are willing to make it into a permanent deal, the terms will be concluded and put into a permanent employment and transfer contract. Sometimes whether or not the full transfer takes place is down to appearance and performance-based clauses that were initially agreed. This type of loan deal has also been adapted in recent transfer windows and have been labeled a loan with an obligation to buy rather than an option, with the latter club contractually required to follow through with the deal after the loan period has come to an end. The transfer fee is agreed prior to the loan, and then the player becomes a permanent member of the club once the loan expires. There are many reasons behind such a loan deal which often relate to factors such as financial fair play and transfer limitations. Put simply, a club may not be able to afford to pay for the transfer fee or the player's salary at that moment in time due to financial fair play, but are adamant that they will be a good signing for them. The loan with obligation to buy agreement allows the club to buy themselves some time in the knowledge that the transfer is secured once they are able to afford it the following year. This type of loan makes sense in order to keep the financial books balanced and in adherence with financial fair play. Let's look at two examples. Player X is 21 years old. He is a professional at a top club in Europe, but does not have any experience beyond reserve team level. The loan manager has found him an opportunity to play for a second division team until the end of the season. In this case, there is unlikely to be an obligation or option to buy, as the purpose of the loan is to bring player X up to first team standard for when he returns for next season. At another club, player Y is 27 years old and has been a bench player for a top club for the first 2 years of their 4-year contract. Another club is interested in signing the player, but due to their current financial situation, they want to delay paying a transfer fee until the end of the 3rd year, but need him for their Champions League qualification battle. Such a club would be happy to commit to a loan with an option to buy based upon the player's performance with them in achieving Champions League qualification, but they do not have to commit in case they do not receive the lucrative income from qualifying or if the player is not the right fit for them. Loans can be incredibly useful to clubs for many other reasons. The most common reasons are as follows. 1. Fringe players can find opportunities for more game time at another club temporarily to increase development. 2. To replace glaring gaps in a squad midway through the season due to poor performances or injury problems. 3. Clubs that are fighting for promotion, a trophy, qualification, or are battling in a relegation scrap can use loan deals to bring in players temporarily to bolster their chances of their relevant aim. The advantage of using a loan in this scenario is that it is not a major or long-term financial commitment should the club fail in something like avoid relegation. And 4. Initially assessing a player's suitability in the club before offering a permanent contract. A loan can vary in length as long as they comply with FIFA regulations outlined later in this video, and usually depends on what the two clubs agree on. Normally, loan contracts are for the duration of the season or for the second half of a season. It is very common for the parent club to ask for either a contribution of or all of the wages of the player. Alternatively, The releasing club will be given a sum of money upfront for the duration of the loan period. Performance-based clauses can also be included in loan contracts to determine the remuneration that the origin club is owed. In some instances, depending on the contract which is in place, clubs may be able to recall players from their loans before its completion. Clauses in the agreement may allow for this under certain circumstances, such as injury problems at the origin club. There are specific rules and regulations around loans in different national associations and across wider jurisdictions by FIFA or other governing bodies. The most important new FIFA loan regulations are as follows. 1. A loan can only be for a maximum of 1 year. 2. The loan must, however, be for a minimum of at least a period between 2 transfer windows and no shorter. 3. Subloaning is now prohibited. This is where a player is already loaned to a club and is then loaned out again. 4. Under new regulations, clubs are prevented from loaning in more than 3 players from a single origin club and consequently can also not loan out more than 3 players to one club. 5. Beginning in the 2022-23 season, a club could loan out a maximum of 8 players, and this number will be reduced further by 1 player each season. A maximum of 6 players will be allowed out on loan by the 2024-25 season. The aim of this is to promote competitiveness, youth player development, and prevent player hoarding. 6. The only players exempt from these new regulations are players aged 21 and younger, and those that have been trained through the youth academy system at the club. The limitations do not apply to them to prevent restrictions of free movement. We hope this video has been useful in explaining everything you need to know about loan transfers in football, why clubs use them so commonly, and how they work in detail. If you have found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing, and visit our other social media platforms to learn more.